Hello, everyone. My name is Lee Ott. I am the VP of AI products for HP. From the original Silicon Valley garage to the AI PC, we are on a mission at HP to transform the future of work. And in the future, we are imagining a world where we have AI everywhere, and it's doing more for us. So whether we are at our desks, or we're on the go, or out in real life, we're going to have AI with us. And to talk a little bit about what that AI native future looks like, we've got a really incredible panel with us today of people who have not only imagined the future, but have a track record of bringing it to life. So with me on stage, we have Carl Pei, founder and CEO of Nothing, Mark Solomon, prior head of product and design for Pebble, the original smartwatch, and Jerry Yu, founder and CEO of Brain.ai. Thanks for joining me. Before we ask the panelists some questions, I want to ask the audience a couple questions just to see if you're awake. Can I get a show of hands if you work on AI at your company today, or if you are in AI? Okay. And if you work on hardware or secretly dream of it? Okay, and the last one is, like, have you launched a Kickstarter before? Interesting. Oh yeah. All right. Fantastic. All right. So let's get started. We're going to cover a few topics. I think we're going to start first a little bit. Think about the future. How are we going to interact with AI? So I think Carl, maybe we'll start with you on that. You've created some real. You're like a master of creating incredible products. So I'm sure you've given thought to this. Like, as we enter the AI world, is AI just an app, or is there something more to that? From an experience standpoint?
Yeah, sure. I've been thinking about it kind of every day for a year. But I think it depends on the time horizon that we're talking about. If it's sufficiently long, then interacting with AI should feel no different than interacting with people. It should feel very natural. If we're talking about like a mid 3-5 years, I think interacting with AI will mean that the devices we use, they're a lot more seamless. It's personalized, so when we use our devices, for instance, the smartphone, we produce so much information. So theoretically, the operating system should know a lot about us and give us like a personalized experience, and it should also be a lot more automated. So long term feels very natural, like human to human. Short term, there's a couple leaps we can do on the tech side.
Got it. So increasingly natural. That's incredible lead into Jerry. Jerry, I think you've given a lot of thought to the future of interfaces, and I think you have a product called Natural. Right. What are your thoughts on how AI is going to change the experience?
Yeah, yes, we have an iOS app called Natural. We shipped 4 years ago with the first generative interfaces. And I think in two aspects. One, it would make you feel free. Like every tool we've built in the past, whether it's physical tools or digital tools, they're all passive and pre-built. Today's computer programming today is just creating the hard-coded wirings between the interface and the buttons on the interface and the functions that lives behind them. And they're fixed, and they cannot really adapt to needs it's never seen before. So all of these decisions were pre-made by designers and engineers. They spend months, if not years, on these decisions, and they ship a product. Once they ship an app, the decisions cannot change anymore, just like the famous Steve Jobs deck around the plastic buttons. Once you ship the button, you cannot add a button to it. And similarly, apps today are like that. So I would say tomorrow's AI native world would have these decisions made on the fly. You have computers that can actually understand humans a lot better, and these design decisions and data decisions, interaction decisions can adapt to individuality a lot more, and use cases that designers and engineers haven't even thought about. So that's freedom, a sense of freedom.
It sounds like you're imagining like basically a generative UI, not just a generative response to a query. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the form that there are a lot of very powerful technologies coming out every week, and we're experiencing exponential growth there. But I think what's really important is, in what form do you ship these technologies? Like
For example, TCP/IP is incredibly powerful technology, but it has a lot of great potential. But without a browser, you can't really kind of make it usable to people. So I think at our company, when we're trying to reinvent computer interfaces, what we're trying to do is to think about the medium through which we're shipping these technologies in a natural form, and users can truly benefit from. And yeah, it's half a technological problem, half a design problem, I think.
Great. So Mark, you've worked on a bunch of UIs back to the original smartwatch, both the hardware and the software side, and a bunch of like more computer vision AI ed tech companies more recently. You have any particular thoughts around how the user experience is going to evolve with AI?
I thought you were going to ask me a different question.
Just trying to keep it fresh.
You're keeping it generative. I think I appreciate what's been said here. I think maybe I'm answering with a question, but I look a little bit further on the time horizon, and it's interesting to think, are we interacting with AI to humans, AI to devices and devices around our ecosystem, as well as AI to AI, and how does that look? And that's an interesting conversation.
Let's talk a little bit more about that. Like you guys have all mentioned more natural interface, generative interface, how we talk to devices. So just help me imagine this a little bit. Like, should I just imagine that I'm going to be like waving my hands at all my devices like I do at my kids? Is that like the future? Like, what does that look like?
I think long term, it's cybernetics. It's robotics and cybernetics. That's why it's natural. Because as humans, we're born to interact with other humans, but if we can make the technology as similar to a human experience as possible, we reduce all the learning costs involved in computing.
Anything you guys want to add to that? Otherwise, I'll move us on. So let's talk about agents for a second on the topic of interaction, because agents are a hot topic at the moment. Are they like the next incarnation? Like we were going from websites to apps to agents, and agents is the way we're like, every brand out there that had a website now has an app, they're going to have an agent, and I'm going to talk to my grocery store agent, and I'm going to talk to my like CVS agent. Like, is everybody an agent? Like, how are you guys thinking about that?
I think distribution is going to be really hard. Like, if everybody wants their own agent, but how is that going to get distributed? It's a question mark for me. I don't think that's going to work. I think people want simplicity in their lives. They don't want to learn too many different things. They don't want to interface with a lot of different interfaces. So I don't think there's going to be a proliferation of agents. Maybe a couple will win.
Yeah, I think from a technological perspective, I think agents are really powerful. Like language models already are really powerful, and you now throw it with memory and ability to use tools to evaluate its own work and work with each other. It's definitely really powerful. Again, it is about how do you deliver these agents, and I think, so to give you an analogy, like today's modern operating systems have this feature that we take for granted today called multitask, right? So we can pull up 15 windows at the same time. We can pull up 50 if we want to. There used to be ads around these features, but we take it for granted today. But an analogy I have is it's kind of like cars, right? Today's Windows analogy of this digital world is like you can have 15 cars, but you can only drive one car at a time. You can use one window at a time. So the interface around design is designing the steering wheel and how do you control the car. You interact with this one window. But the world of agents are around how, once you have, let's say, not 15 cars, you have 15 autonomous cars. Are you still designing the steering wheel, or are you designing, say, a map? Or are you operating on driving the car, or are you operating on where do you want to be, your destination of life, if you will. So I think that's how we think about AI agents and how to design interfaces for that. And we have some really exciting, we've developed an AI native operating system that we're shipping with the major telcos, great OEMs next year. And we're looking forward to share that vision with the world.
Awesome. That actually leads in great. So we're now imagining a seamless experience, sort of an agentic future that makes it much more natural to interact for us to just get the things done we want to get done. So let's shift into the AI native side of the equation. So we need to build products that can bring that to life. And maybe Mark, starting with you, like, what are you thinking are some of the bare essentials for a truly native generative AI experience?
Yeah, when we start to think about AI native, I think you need to take one step back as well as to what market segment are you looking at, what user, what problem statement, sort of the basics in general. But once you've identified user, market, and what problem you're trying to solve, then you think about not the hardware first, or even the software. You're thinking about, what type of model you're going to use. Is it an LLM? Is it an LVM? What are you trying to? What is that? What is the chemistry of that agentic layer, if you will? And what are those agents? And what are those tasks? What are the 100 that you have? If I can add on or just double click, is I was doing the math. If 10 billion people had 10 agents, that's a lot of agents all interconnecting. If all of our devices had 10 agents, that's way too many agents. And then if every company had 100 agents. So the agent overload is going to be very interesting. But so you think about the ones that will actually have meaning, and then you vet that, and you see, is that actually solving? And then you start to think about, what are the things that I need to layer in? Compute, what are the inputs? And you take it little by little, the absolute essential you need to add. And that's very helpful for some of the items that we're working on, which is Gen AI meets wearables, because when you take that approach of just putting essentially what you need in, then you're able to think about all-day wearable, you're able to think about something that's going to be helpful and useful during the interactions that you have. So kind of think of that as AI native. Start from that core, solving the Gen AI. We didn't get into monetization of Gen AI, but that's another 20-minute block later. But you've got to solve that, and then you start to build around.
What are you thinking, Carl? In particular, I mean, I think you're pretty close to the fact that hardware takes real time to build. We can't just turn it around in 2 months in an agile sprint.
And there's a huge product market fit risk when it comes to hardware. So the way that we think about it is there may be a new form factor in the future that's AI first. There may not be. We shouldn't be the ones who invest resources in figuring that out. It should be the bigger companies who have a lot of free cash flow to invest in innovation. It shouldn't be the startups. And we should focus on the really big categories today. Like, we have smartphones that have a volume of 1.2 billion every year globally. Wireless earbuds is like 260 million. We have smartwatches, that's like a 80 million unit a year market now. So let's just focus on the big categories. Like, let's not take the PMF risk on the hardware. It's too expensive. And I actually don't think it's going to come anytime soon, a new form factor. But let's connect all these products that we have and make them way more intelligent and more serving to the consumer.
So I think on a related note, we think about hardware. A lot of our hardware today has a screen. But we move into a world where it's like seamless. We've got something running capabilities for us in the background. I can already have a really great conversation with a number of the foundation models. Do you think we continue to be sort of screen-centric from a UI metaphor? What do you think, Jerry?
Yeah, I don't think the touchscreen is going away for a very long time, and just because the visuals are very important, I think it's going to be some combination of natural interface and the touchscreen. And on the AI native front note, I think it's still centered around this word natural, right? The idea that anything native, like, you have to be really thoughtful about the design. And if you think about the last 17 years of the iPhone, what Apple did really incredibly well is really studied, human ergonomics from 1984, inventing the mouse, like taking this direct manipulation, our ability to move any physical object, right? And with our hands that we're born with, translating that into the digital world with the mouse, and now later on in 2007 with the touchscreen, you can feel it. it's very thoughtful. Like, and I don't know if you guys remember, there were other computers that, like, they snapped like an entire Windows that was designed for the cursor crudeness of 1 pixel straight onto those multi-touch. That was not, when I experienced that, it was not as great when Apple really from the size of the icon to how you navigate of the apps to how you navigate through these apps. Everything was rethought of the entire design architecture. I think in a similar way, we're still in that very raw era of AI today with that. I don't think the form will be in like chatbots, for example, like how we ship intelligence. And we need to be very thoughtful to carve out the right design architecture that is scalable, but also the technology platform that is reliable for everyone to be able to come in and extend upon this new direction, this new dimension of intelligence that will serve every individual.
So as we kind of shift into that AI native world that we're imagining but aren't into quite yet, it feels maybe, for a bad analogy, that might still be in the fart app stage of AI native. Like, we're still sort of like building cool little applets that are Windows based on iOS, as opposed to building things that were fundamentally for iOS. Like, what's fundamental to AI? As we move to things that are like AI native, like fundamentally AI at its core, what are, just for you guys personally, as you think forward about what superpowers does that unlock? Like, what gets you personally excited? I'll just weigh in. Personally, if it could help me find my keys in the morning, that would be amazing. So just, what's top of mind? Jerry, you want to start?
Sure. I think this new feeling of the compression of time is what we're going to experience. And like we're already experiencing this. Like, at our company, we have this hard rule of everyone has to build a side project a day. So we have many new projects coming out with with the help of AI. I think we'll be able to do probably years of work within months, if not weeks, in the future, and having these ability to transcend time and this linearity of our perception is a very exciting future.
What do you think, Mark?
In some of our work, excited about the potential to, where Gen AI meets wearables meets some really important work that's done on the front lines. It unlocks a lot of productivity and enables certain individuals to do more and do it better and have much better experiences. For example, if you're up on the top of a rocket trying to replace a certain part, you don't have your hands aren't free. You've got to do something very quickly, and if it's not done fast, then you're either losing time or you're going to fall. So stakes are high. There's an unlock there that's really neat. If you're interfacing with someone on a high-value exchange, instead of looking at a device or having to reference something in the back room, you can have a really rich customer experience where you can close that sale, for example, and that enables you to be in person. And so, to even a use case where, again, you arrive on the scene of a medical situation where you have seconds, but you don't have the domain expertise. You can potentially save and help someone out and help a situation out. Those are some really interesting areas that we're finding some value, and I look forward to unlocking those experiences. So really unlocking kind of the human augmentation and potential.
What about you, Carl?
When Apple was marketing the personal computer, I think Steve Jobs coined the term bicycle for the mind, having this product being able to help us realize our ideas in a much more efficient way than before. However, the modern smartphone is actually the modern computer, right? It's the most popular computing device that everybody uses, and it's definitely not a bicycle for the mind. It's like an opium for the mind, like we're just watching garbage content and getting that dopamine kick. So somewhere along the way, the development of technology went wrong, and I'm really excited to see whether we can leverage the new technology coming out in this era to restart or rebuild the bicycle for the mind. And I think the thing to really empower is creativity, because I think that's humanity's superpower. We're able to find problems and solve problems in novel ways that's never been done before. And I believe that technology products should help humans become more creative.
So as we wrap up, in the AI native future, we're imagining something where we have devices, but they do more for us, they know more about us, it's more seamless. Frankly, they're learning how to interpret us as opposed to us interpreting them. So just a one-word answer to this question to close us out. I'll start with you, Carl. Like, the future of AI native is?
It's nothing.
Mark? You got to follow, yeah.
Should I say something? This may be controversial. Optimistic.
Natural.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining us.